Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, November 28th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the last 24 hours, we have had scattered precipitation across the Great Basin, with some areas of heavier precipitation in northern Utah, southern Idaho, and the eastern half of Nevada. Looking over the last 7 to 4 weeks, the last week of precipitation is on the left, showing that precipitation has mainly targeted areas of the Arizona Strip, up into Utah, eastern Idaho, and western Wyoming, and also the central Idaho mountains. We've also had more significant precipitation in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Over the last 30 days, the image on the right shows the percent of normal precipitation, and really most areas have seen below normal precipitation over the eastern and southern half of the Great Basin, with some areas in the Sierra and into western and northern Nevada and up into Idaho that have seen near or even just above normal precipitation over the last 30 days. The water vapor satellite loop from this morning shows a trough of low pressure moving across the central portion of the country, with an area of low pressure dropping south this morning into Idaho. Showers are already occurring over much of northern Utah into Idaho and parts of eastern Nevada, and this system is fairly cool with temperatures below normal and the precipitation falling mostly as snow. Also, we'll continue to see breezy winds over much of the southern half of the Great Basin today. Now looking at the ventilation index for today, with these stronger winds across most of the area, we will see good dispersion really across all of the Great Basin, with the exception of parts of the far south where winds may not be as strong. However, looking at the individual components, the wind image on the left does show these stronger winds with gusts above 40 miles per hour over much of the Great Basin, again with the exception of the Sierra Nevada and also parts of southern Nevada into parts of the Arizona Strip. Also, mixing heights will remain high over much of the area with the exception of the far west and southern portions of the Great Basin. As we move into Tuesday, this area of low pressure tracks eastward and we start to see high pressure building into the west coast and into the western half of Nevada. With this high pressure building in, winds will decrease significantly for poor dispersion across much of the western half of the area. However, still some stronger northerly flow will keep dispersion higher over parts of Utah into southern Nevada. Looking at the winds on the left, we can see still some gusty winds over the eastern half and southern portions of the Great Basin, where gusts will exceed 30 or 40 miles per hour at times. However, much weaker wind flow again will move in under that area of high pressure in the west and northern portion of the area. Also, mixing heights will decrease significantly over the western half of Nevada up into Idaho, but still remain somewhat high over the eastern half of the basin. As we move into Wednesday, we have another weaker area of low pressure that will drop south into the Pacific Northwest and spread more precipitation over Idaho, into Wyoming, and the northern portion of Utah and Nevada. We'll still see relatively low ventilation indices across much of the area as the winds will not be overly strong. Looking at the wind pattern on the left for Wednesday, we can see some breezy winds in areas over Idaho and Wyoming, but really the rest of Utah and Nevada into the Arizona Strip, winds will remain much lighter. Mixing heights will remain low across most of the Great Basin and might be slightly higher over the eastern portion of Utah. If we look at the forecast clearing index across Utah, you can see how conditions will change from today through Wednesday, with clearing indices being very high across Utah today with those stronger winds, and will be decreasing especially as we move towards Wednesday. Looking at the forecast amount of precipitation over the next few days, as this area of low pressure tracks eastward, we will see significant amounts of precipitation, mainly in the higher elevations of Utah and also into parts of Idaho and the eastern half of Nevada. With this system being a cold system, the precipitation will fall as snow, so most areas will see several inches of snow in the valleys and over a foot of snow in the higher elevations of Utah. If we look towards the latter half of the week on Thursday, this area of low pressure now tracks eastward across Idaho into Utah and Wyoming with precipitation over the eastern half of the Great Basin. We also may see some breezy northerly winds, which will keep dispersion fairly good across Nevada and Idaho into western Utah and the Arizona Strip, with poor dispersion over the eastern half of Utah. As we move into Friday, we see high pressure building into the west coast once again, so we will see poor dispersion across much of Idaho into western and northern Nevada, but still fairly breezy northeast winds across the eastern half of Nevada into Utah will allow the ventilation indices to remain much higher. As we move into Saturday, we have another system bringing some precipitation to the north with continued drier conditions further south. We will continue to see poor dispersion through the weekend, through Saturday and Sunday over the northern half of the Great Basin. Another shot of precipitation will occur later on Sunday, and also maybe some breezy winds. However, dispersion will still remain fairly poor, at least through most of the day on Sunday. Looking at the forecast amount of precipitation from Thursday morning through Saturday morning, and generally lighter amounts of precipitation will affect the northern and eastern half of the Great Basin, with drier conditions over southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and into parts of western Nevada. If we go a little bit further ahead through the first week of December, we will see below normal temperatures continue, along with above normal precipitation for most of the Great Basin. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.